WAFCON 2026. The teams are here. We know who the 12 are. Did we say 12? Is it even 12? Can I count? 12 teams that are going to be battling for next year's edition of AFCON for the women, which also serves and doubles as the World Cup qualifiers for the 2027 World Cup. Here are your teams, guys. We are the Africans. We do primarily Canadian African content. So make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you're from one of these 12s, let me know what you think, what excites you. If you aren't from one of these 12s, let's have a conversation and say, do we need to expand the field? Do we need to shrink the field? I think we're at a point we can expand, but let's talk about what we discovered. We have finished the second round of qualifying. What happened in that round was we had matchups, two leg matchups is very popular and common within African football. And after that happens, then the winner on aggregate moves on. So we had 11 matchups, both home and away, and the winners were Zambia, Tanzania, Malawi, Algeria, Nigeria, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Kenya, South Africa, Cape Verde, and Senegal, joining the host Morocco. Let's take a moment to talk a little bit about how we got. When we look at the matchups that came through, I think it's very important to talk about how we got here because those matchups do matter in everything. So let's take a look at what we have here. First matchup we had Malawi. I think that's one of the more impressive lineups, other than one more, which we'll talk about in a moment. Malawi getting a 2-0 win in their second to move on over. Malawi does this without Temwa Chawinga, who had to drop out of the camp. She is the sister. If for those of you in North America, you know Temwa, who's playing with the KC Current. Her sister, also playing with this team at Lyon, helped carry this team through. So Malawi, a team with names that a lot of Africans know. We almost want to call them, and maybe this is not a fair comparison. It's almost as if they were a team that one or two players, but just haven't been able to go through. South Africa had to fight through DR Congo. There were a lot of good matchups. DR Congo versus South Africa was certainly a tough matchup that they were able to get past. 2-1 on aggregate, with South Africa winning the goal-scoring goal in the second matchup at their home leg, getting the result coming through. Tanzania winning their result 3-0 on aggregate, 2-0 away, and then 1-0 at home. Zambia versus Namibia. Namibia definitely was looking like they were going to try to hang around for a little bit. They got a penalty and a second half goal, but then Kudinaji helps put it away in the 71st and the 94th minute. And then on the home leg was just all Zambia. They get through there. Burkina Faso gets past 3-0 total. We see the goals there. So Adogo gets it through, as well as getting a 3-1 there. A 3-1 win for Algeria over Cameroon. Algeria doing their best to win. Games weren't in Algeria or Cameroon, but we'll see what comes there. We saw Ghana dominate Egypt 3-0 away, 4-0 at home. Doris Wadua with about as many goals and chances as you could want. 4 goals over the leg, gets it done over Egypt. Kenya gets the win to return to WAFCON. We see the goals coming in 4-1 overall on aggregate. Benin playing up a fight, but still unable to get past Nigeria. Okoronkwo with the game winner. Well, actually, Izu in the first matchup, and then Plumtree sealing it before Benin scores coming through. Cape Verde. That was a little bit of a surprise. I think we expected more of Mali to come through with this game. Mali winning the first leg, but then Cape Verde in a rout comes back and takes the second leg 4-2 away, which means Cape Verde, a debutant along with Malawi in this competition. This one I was curious to see what happened, and it was as tight as I expected. 0-0 each side, goes to penalties. Senegal gets past Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire, a side that played in the Intercontinental Playoff last time around, can't make it through here. And this is where I think you could make the argument that we could have expanded this to 16 sides. I think 16 would be far worth moving into it. 16 wouldn't be an impossible choice, especially when you see the likes of, right? You see the likes of Mali, you see the likes of Cote d'Ivoire. That's 14. I think we could, and then DR Congo unable to make it through. I think Africa's reached the point where we should have the conversation say, could we not move this up to a 16 team tournament on the women's side for WAFCON? Maybe they don't think the quality is there, but I think there's enough teams there that you could expand it and still not have. This isn't the conversation, say, with the Women's World Cup where they went from 24 to 32. And the concern was we were going to have a bunch of blowout games. Ultimately, there weren't any blowouts in the last World Cup on the women's side. Every game was very well contested. And I think in Africa, the game is growing enough. Yes, you can argue about the strife, unrest, all those things, which are there. And I mean, we were thinking about them. But I think Africa has to reach a point. CAF has to have that conversation and say, we can expand to 16 teams. But that's not where we are. We are at 12 teams. Let's talk about how the setup is. It's the same format if you follow AFCON. WAFCON here, it's the same idea and concept. Groups of 4. Morocco is already going to be in Group A. The top 2 teams in every group make it automatically, plus the next best third place teams to make it through. So out of the 12 teams, 8 are going to move on. So as you can see here. Now, when we reach the knockout brackets, this is what's very important. The 4 teams, the 8 teams will play a knockout bracket. Semifinalists qualify automatically to the World. It's going to be a very big moment. Now, the losers of the quarterfinals will play each other in the Intercontinental playoffs. So as long as you make the bracket, as long as you make it out of the group stage, you give yourself 2 opportunities to qualify for the World. Opportunity is win your game, make it to semifinals. You are pack your bags. You're going to Brazil, Samba, and all. If you lose that game, the losers will play each other, and the winners of those 2 matchups will then go on and play in the FIFA Women's Intercontinental Playoff. Last round, we saw 2 CONCACAF teams make it through. That was Haiti as well as Panama. And I think this round, I think it'll be a very highly contested to see who makes it through. But top 4 make it, and then you have the last 2 fighting for the trophy, for the WAFCON trophy. I think based off of title, I don't think you can ever count out the Nigerians. They've got 10. They're looking to start bringing trophies for their toes and rings for their toes. But I think the teams in Africa have improved well enough. And I'm curious to see what happens. The likes of Morocco will always be a threat. South Africa, you can never look down on them. Ghana seems to be getting their program into some better form and straight. You can never discount Malawi with the Chawinga sisters, not to mention other sides like the wild card that is Cape Verde. We don't know what they could bring. They could be very curious. Kenya returning to the scene after it'll be 10 years since their first debut. Tanzania have shown well, and Zambia will always be an offensive threat. Maybe they'll be able to fix the defense here. Though today we recorded their U17s did fall to Canada in the U17 World Cup, knocking them out. Maybe there's some defenders they can grab from there. We'll have to wait and see. But you guys jump on. Let me know what you think. Who are you rooting for? If I overlooked your country, I didn't mean to. Algeria have always been consistent at this level. Burkina Faso were debutants in 2022, so this is their second time. So there's a lot of fresh faces, to be perfectly honest. Outside the likes of, no, even if you look at this, yeah. Even if you look at this, let's look at this chart real quick here, right? The most capped teams, the 3 most experienced WAFCON teams are South Africa, Ghana, and Nigeria. Then you have Algeria with 6 appearances And then everyone else are groups of 4, 3, and 2. Now, Zambia, though, definitely have the talent. Morocco, those teams you cannot overlook. But I think once you get to the quarterfinals, everyone will be up. Getting to the quarterfinals gives you the opportunity. I think that's what a lot of these teams are going to try to work for. We saw in the last edition of WAFCON where teams got there. You saw Ghana make a run to the semifinals, which surprised some. You saw Nigeria and South Africa and Zambia end up on the same side of the bracket, with Nigeria emerging. And then you saw Morocco make it through to the end. And they were able to challenge Nigeria before a spirited comeback coming through. I think it's going to be a great WAFCON next year. In case you were wondering, in case you forgot when it was, it is taking place. It is scheduled to take place in March of next year. So March of next year, WAFCON and World Cup qualifiers for the 2027 Women's World Cup happening in Brazil. Guys, again, let me know who you're rooting for, how excited you are. Who do you think could be emerging? Give me your way too early predictions. And as always, guys, I'm just going to stop talking